Hello everyone, welcome back to EduTap and welcome to Finance Current Affairs session. In today's session, we are going to discuss a very important report that is released by the Reserve Bank of India in January 2023 only. That is the annual report of Ombudsman schemes. So what data points it has, what is the scheme, for what period it is for. So all of this we are going to discuss in today's session. We will have the complete analysis of the report in today's session, as well as I will show you the important data points that is given in the report and that is also mentioned in most of the important newspapers. Okay, so this is very important from the exams point of view. But before starting with this very important news article and before starting with this very important report that is released by the Reserve Bank of India, there is a big announcement from EduTap that we have brought for you the comprehensive guide for RBI, NABARD and SEBI. So through a single guidebook, you can get all your queries answered. If you want to know about the examination, that what is the pattern for the exam, what is the syllabus for the exam, what is the previous year cutoff for the exam, all your common queries can be answered through a single guidebook. You do not have to visit different links, you do not have to visit different websites. Even if you want to know about the preparation, that what should be the strategy for the preparation, what should be the sources for the preparation, all your common queries can be answered through this single guidebook, and this is provided absolutely free of cost to save your time and to save your efforts. Okay, and you can easily download these guidebooks. The link is provided in the description box below. So do download these guidebooks. They are going to enhance the level of your understanding for the examination. Okay, so now starting with today's report, today's important topic, that is the RBI has released the annual report of the Ombudsman schemes for the period of April 1, 2021 to March 31st, 2022. So this is the annual report that has been released by the Reserve Bank of India, and remember the period that it is from April 2021 to March 2022. Okay. So now what this annual report covers, okay, now we study that there are ombudsman schemes. So which ombudsman schemes is this annual report covering, or what are the ombudsman schemes? So see, ombudsman schemes. Now if you have any complaint against the banks, okay, that the banks are not working for their banking hours, like they are not working from 9 to 5. So as well as they are not giving back your deposits, they are not even taking your deposits. So these are the complaints that you have. Now you can go to the bank branch head and you can complain with him. But what if the manager is also not addressing your complaints? Okay, no complaints are being addressed by the head also of the bank. So what can you do? You can go to the RBI headquarters and you can complain with the RBI head. So you cannot do that, of course. So that's why the ombudsman schemes were made. These are the alternate grievance redressal mechanism that is present. That is, if the banks are not catering to your complaints, or if the NBFCs that are under the Reserve Bank of India's regulation, they are not catering to your complaints. So what you can do, you can go to the ombudsman offices, you can go through the ombudsman schemes, and through this you can get your complaints resolved. So if you have any complaint against the banks, okay, and the banks are not resolving that complaints, then through the banking ombudsman scheme you can get your complaint resolved. Okay, so these are the ombudsman offices that has been set by the Reserve Bank of India, that has been set under this scheme. So these are the alternate grievance redressal mechanism. If the banks are not catering to your complaints, then through these schemes you can get your complaints resolved. So these are the grievance redressal mechanism, the alternate grievance redressal mechanism. Now if the NBFCs are not, now if you have any complaint against the NBFCs and the NBFC is not, if the company is not addressing your complaint, then you can go to the ombudsman scheme. Through this ombudsman scheme you can get your complaints resolved against this NBFC. Now if you have any complaint against the digital transactions, that the UPI is not happening properly, or there are system participants that are not addressing your complaints, if you have any complaint against the Bharat bill payment system, so what you can do is through this ombudsman scheme you can get your complaints resolved. So these are the alternate grievance redressal mechanism. The first step is to go to the banks, to go to the NBFCs. But if they are not addressing your complaints, the next step would be to go to the ombudsman schemes, ombudsman offices, or through the portal also you can raise your complaint, and these schemes are under the Reserve Bank of India. So through these schemes you can get your complaints resolved. Now in November 12, what happened? November 12, 2021, the Prime Minister of our country, he launched Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, in which all of these schemes were merged. Because what was happening, that there were banking ombudsman offices, there were ombudsman offices for the NBFCs, and they were working differently. Some were more efficient, some were less efficient. So what RBI thought is, let's merge all of this and let's make one scheme, that is the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. Now through this scheme, if you have a complaint against a bank, you have a complaint against a NBFC also, all of these complaints, if you have the complaint against the system participants in the digital transactions, or if you have the complaint regarding the digital transactions, so you can get it directly resolved from Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. You do not have to go differently to the bank ombudsman, you do not have to go differently to the NBFC ombudsman, and so on. So all of these schemes were merged and they became a single scheme, that is Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. November 12, 2021, this was launched. So up to November 11, 2021, the annual report covers the activities under these three schemes, because until then this scheme was not launched. So after or since November 12, 2021, all the activities were done through the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. That if the complaints are coming, so they are coming through this scheme, or if the complaints are getting resolved, any of these schemes are not involved directly, this is the scheme that is involved. Because this scheme, the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, is now the scheme that has merged, that has taken over all of these schemes. So I hope you have understood that up till November 11, 2021, the activities were under these three schemes, but since November 12, 2021, the activities, the annual report covers the activities under the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. And now, which department of the Reserve Bank of India has released this annual report? So it is Consumer Education and Protection Department. Okay, let's understand a little about this. So this department was set up in 2006 as Customer Service Department. So this is for the service of the customer, to educate the customer, to protect the customer. Now this is the department that frames the policy guidelines for consumer protection and oversees the functioning of the 22 offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. So now there are 22 offices of RBI Ombudsman. So this ORBIOS, that is the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsmen. Now these are the offices that handle the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. So you can understand that now there are not different offices for the banking ombudsman, different offices for ombudsman for the NBFCs, or different offices for the digital transaction ombudsman. Now there are the offices for the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. So 22 offices are present for the Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman, and through these 22 offices, the queries can be taken, the complaints can be taken for the banks also, for the NBFCs also, for the digital transactions also. So the customer do not have to go to different offices of the banks, banking ombudsman, of the NBFC ombudsman. Now there are the offices that have been merged to become the RBI Ombudsman. Not the banking ombudsman, not the NBFC ombudsman, but the RBI Ombudsman that can handle any of the complaints against the regulated entities, any of the regulated entities. Let it be the banks, let it be the NBFCs, or the system participants in the digital transactions. So the CPD, the Reserve Bank of India, has the department, Consumer Education and Protection Department, that oversees the functioning of these 22 offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman, and that also oversees the 30 Consumer Education and Protection cells. So what other things that the CPD department do, or the Consumer Education and Protection Department do? It administers the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2021. So the CEPD had the work to oversee all the ombudsman schemes. Okay, the banking ombudsman scheme, the NBFC ombudsman scheme, the digital transactions ombudsman scheme. But now it do not have to oversee all of these, because these have been merged in a single scheme, that is Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. Handling complaints. Now the complaints can even come through the GOI, that is the Government of India portal. So the Government of India has made a portal that is known as the CP Grams, that is Centralized Public Grievance Redress and Monitoring System. So if through this portal the complaints against the banks are coming, that is regulated under the RBI. So handling the complaints, it is the work of the Consumer Education and Protection Department to handle such complaints that are coming, that is received in RBI through the CP Grams portal of the Government of India. Overseeing the grievance redressal mechanism, this is the work of the Consumer Education and Protection Department to cooperate with the banks, to cooperate with the Indian Banks Association, to cooperate with the offices of RBI Ombudsman and the regulatory departments, to cooperate with the regulatory departments of the RBI on matters relating to the customer service and grievance redressal. This is the work of the CEPD, and providing policy inputs for the consumers, for the customer service, as well as creating consumer awareness, providing the education to the customers, disseminating the information relating to customer service, and doing the grievance redressal by the banks and RBI. So all of this is the work of CEPD. I hope you have understood. And here the important point is understanding the CPgrams, that there is a portal that is of the Government of India, through which also the complaints can come to the RBI regarding the banks and all. So here I have told you that there are 22 offices of the RBI Ombudsman through which the complaints can be raised regarding the banks or the NBFCs or the digital transactions. Before, there were different offices for the banking ombudsman, there were different offices for the NBFC ombudsmen, but all of these have been merged to become the RBI Ombudsman. And here you can see that there are different centers. There are different centers in different cities, and this is the ombudsman that is handling a particular center. So you can understand that this is the format, okay, of the 22 offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. So now coming to the important developments. Now we have understood that who has released the report. What is the report about? It is regarding the ombudsman schemes and the activities under the ombudsman schemes. For which period it has been launched, that also we have seen. So important developments under the ombudsman schemes. During the year, Consumer Education and Protection Department undertook the following initiatives. So first of all, the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme has been launched in November 12, 2021 by the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The ambit of Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme was extended to include non-scheduled urban cooperative banks. So before, the non-scheduled urban cooperative banks were not part of the schemes, okay, ombudsman schemes, but now they have been included if they have a deposit size of greater than rupees 50 crore. So they will also come under the ambit of Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme. If any of the customer has any complaint against such kind of bank, that also can be raised with the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme. And even the CICs, that is the credit information companies, are also covered now under the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme. So now under the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme, there was the launch of CRPC, that is the Centralized Receipt and Processing Center. Now this is the Centralized Receipt and Processing Center that can receive the complaints from the consumers through the email or in the physical form, okay. And this is the CRPC is the center where all the complaints from all over the country come. And the initial processing, even if the offices of the RBI Ombudsman are receiving some complaints, they will also send the complaint to the CRPC. So the initial processing of the complaints will happen to the CRPC, and CRPC will tell that if these complaints are manageable or not, okay. So the initial scrutiny as well as the initial processing of these complaints are handled by the CRPC, which is established under the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme before assigning the maintainable ones to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. So officers of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman, they are the ones that will handle the complaints, but the initial processing will be done by the CRPC. So CRPC will tell that which of the complaints are not manageable. So that is first resort complaint. The customer is not going to the bank, directly coming to the RBI scheme. That cannot happen. First, raise your complaint with the bank or the NBFC or the digital system participant. Then if they are not resolving, then come to the schemes, right? So that is why the schemes are the alternate way, not represented properly. We are not able to understand that what your query is, what your grievance is. So these are the complaints that are not maintainable. So here CRPC is the one that initially scrutinize and process the complaints, that these complaints are manageable or not, okay. And there are many complaints that are not manageable due to these reasons. You can read it. So CRPC has become the initial point of receiving the complaints and seeing that they are manageable or not, and if they are manageable, then the problem or the complaint goes to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman that has to handle that complaints. Okay, a contact center has also been made, and contact center means that if a customer has any query, has any like problem, that how I can raise my complaint, how I can know about the complaint, that what is happening with that complaint, is it getting resolved or not. So to assist the complainants, to assist the customers in lodging their complaints, providing them information regarding the redressal mechanism, so contact center has been made for assisting the customers, assisting the compliance, and in 10 languages, 10 regional languages, the assistance is provided to the customers, to the compliance by the contact center, and even in Hindi and English. So 10 regional languages, and in Hindi and English, the assistance is provided by the contact center. A nationwide intensive awareness program was launched on the World Consumer Rights Day on March 15, 2022 to strengthen the ongoing financial awareness and education by the department. So of course this is the CEPD, this is the Consumer Education and Protection Department. So of course it is taking step for the financial awareness, for the consumer education, for which the nationwide intensive awareness program was launched on World Consumer Rights Day. And ombudsman offices, the RBIOs, that is the Reserve Bank of India Ombudsmen, also conducted 29 town hall events and 175 awareness programs during the year. So these are the important developments that has happened in 2021-22 financial year. So what you have to remember, that the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme has been launched on November 12, 2021. Second, the CRPC has been launched under the scheme. Third, the contact center has been launched. Fourth, a nationwide intensive awareness program was launched. And fifth point, the RBIOs are conducting the 29 town hall events, and they were conducting the awareness programs also. So these are the points that you have to remember. So next is the customers having grievances against the regulated entities for deficiency in service. So if any of the regulated entities are not doing their services properly, so you can raise the complaint with the particular regulated entity. But if they are not solving your complaint, you can get your query redressed. Okay, you can get your complaint addressed. So which is not redressed satisfactorily or in a timely manner by the regulated entities can directly lodge their complaint. So if they are not, if the regulated entities are not handling the complaints, then you can lodge your complaint with the CMS, that is the Complaint Management System portal. That this is the portal. Here you can see that the RBI has given this portal. Here under the Ombudsman scheme, you can lodge your complaint through the CMS portal. So this is the CMS portal, Complaint Management System portal, that you can see. So you will click on any of the Ombudsman scheme. So here now only one Ombudsman scheme is there, that is Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. You will tell that for what the complaint is. The complaint is for the banks, for the NBFCs, or the prepaid payment instruments. So this is how through the CMS you can lodge the complaint, and this is the RBI that has given the portal. Okay. Next is by email also at the CRPC. So I have told you that the CRPC, through the email you can send the complaint to the CRPC directly, or through the physical mode also you can send the complaint to the CRPC, that is the Centralized Receipt and Processing Center set up in RBI Chandigarh. Centralization of grievance redressal in the form of Centralized Receipt and Processing Center. So now CRPC has been made, which at last all the complaints that is received by any of the scheme, okay, by now one scheme is only there. So if the scheme is receiving the complaint, if the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman are receiving the complaint, if the CMS is receiving the complaint, all of these complaints will go to the CRP first. That will initially process the complaint and will see that this complaint is manageable or not. So the centralization of grievance redressal has happened, that initially processing will start from where? It will start from the CRPC. So CRPC will tell that this is manageable and will assign it to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. That 22 offices, and it will be equally divided it will be as per se divided between the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman, that you have to handle these complaints. automation has happened of some processes in the form of initial processing by the CMS portal. So the CMS portal is also being automated in a higher level, in a better level. Adoption of deficiency in service. Before there were different grounds. Before it was said that there is particular grounds on which you can raise the complaint. Now this particular grounds was hard to understand for the customer, that on what grounds we can raise the complaint against a particular bank or against the NBFC. Now this kind of particular ground or limited ground has been abolished. Now it is said that deficiency in service. If you find the deficiency in service in any of the bank, in any of the NBFC or the system operators of the digital transactions, then you can lodge the complaint. So deficiency in service is the single broad-based ground for lodging the complaints now. Okay, there are no different grounds on which the complaint will be lodged. Only there is one ground, that is deficiency in service. The Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme made the alternate grievance redressal mechanism efficient and faster, because all of the different schemes, all of the different alternate grievance redressal mechanism schemes, they are now integrated into one, that is Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme. Okay, so remember, CMS is also there, okay, to get the complaints. CRP is also there to get the complaints. So now here you can remember this, that the complaints can be received online through the CMS portal or through the CP Grams also, that is the portal of the Government of India, through email or through the physical complaints also. The complaints can come, and these complaints can come to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. Okay, you can directly go and give the complaint also. With the CMS portal mode being the most efficient and mode of complaint registration. So until now the most efficient is what? Go to the RBI website and type your complaint in the CMS portal. I have shown you that how easy it is to see the CMS portal. Directly in the RBI website you can click on any of the link and you will go to this page where you can file the complaint. So the CMS portal is until now the most efficient mode of complaint registration. It is observed that the CMS portal, the complaint management system portal, retains the highest share of complaints received assigned to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsmen. So here you can see that the complaint portal, that is the CMS portal, it has received the highest number of complaints, through which the highest number of complaints are being received. Data you do not have to remember, just remember that the CMS portal retains the highest share of the complaints that is received to the offices of Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. Here the CRPC data is not given because the CRPC was later on launched, right? So now total receipt of complaints under the Ombudsman scheme. So the under the Ombudsman scheme, the Banking Ombudsman scheme has received 50% of the complaints. The NBFC Ombudsman scheme has received 4.89%, and you can see that. But important thing is that the Banking Ombudsman scheme has received the highest share of the complaints. Now the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme was launched in November. So since November it has received 17% of the complaints. Now the CRPC has received 27% of the complaints. So you can understand that the highest complaints has been received by the Banking Ombudsman scheme. Now all of these schemes has been merged in the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman scheme, but this is the data from April 2021 to March 2022, and you can remember that until the half of the year the Integrated Ombudsman scheme was not there. Okay, so remember the data that highest complaints are going to Banking Ombudsman scheme for this period. Okay, so next data is regarding that the entity type wise receipt of complaints. So the highest complaints are coming against the public sector banks. 50% of the complaints are coming against public sector banks. 30% or 31% of the complaints are coming against private sector banks, and then the highest is NBFC 7%. Okay, so the highest against the public sector banks, second highest against the private sector banks, then it is the NBFCs. But still the NBFCs complaints against NBFCs are not as much. Okay, so now the entity type wise, now the complaints against bank, the most complaints are regarding the ATM or the debit cards. 15% we can say, around 15% complaints are coming against the ATMs or the debit cards. ATMs are not working, the debit card is being cloned or something. So complaints against bank, remember this, that the highest complaints are coming against the ATMs or the debit cards. Now complaints against NBFCs, the highest complaints, 56% of the complaints are coming against the loans and advances that is related to the NBFCs and the non-adherence to the FPC. Okay, so highest complaints are coming against this, that is the loans and advances that is related to the NBFC. So highest complaints are coming against this in the NBFCs category. Now in the complaints against the non-bank payment system participants, that is related to the digital transactions. So the highest complaints are coming against the mobile or electronic fund transfers, the mobile electronic banking. So highest complaints are coming against this, and the fund transfers, UPI, BPPS, that is the Bharat Bill Payment System. Then second highest complaints are coming against this. Now the banks have received the highest complaints have been received, or highest complaints that has been received by the Ombudsman schemes, it is related to the banks. So the banks, percentage of the banks to total complaints is 88%. So the most complaints are coming against banking segment. NBFCs, then 10% of the total complaints are coming against the NBFCs. You can understand that the highest 88% of the complaints are coming against the banks. Then 10% of the complaints, total complaints are coming against the NBFCs, and then 1% of the complaints is coming against the non-bank payment system participants. Next is complaint type. You have understood that the banks are the ones that have against which the most of the complaints are coming. Now the individuals are the ones that are raising most of the complaints. 79 or 80% of the complaints is raised by the individuals. Individual businesses are raising 3% of the total complaints, and senior citizens, even here senior citizens, you can see that the percentage has increased from the previous periods. Senior citizens are also raising their complaints now. So that is the consumer education. The financial awareness is coming to the senior citizens also, and it is a very good number that we can see that even they are raising the complaints. That means they are getting the financial awareness, the consumer education. So that number has increased in the 2021-22. That is from April 2021 till March 2022, the senior citizens has raised 3% of the complaints. Okay. So this is regarding the population group wise receipt of complaints. The metropolitan areas, they have from there most of the complaints are coming. Okay. So in the rural section, you can see for the 2021-22 for all the ombudsman schemes, this is shown here that there is a little less complaints from the rural areas. But remember that the metropolitan states are the ones that have from where the highest number of the complaints, highest percentage of the complaints are coming, and after that is the urban area 20%, 21%, from the semi-urban area 17%, and from the rural area only 9% complaints are coming. So now activities under the RBI Ombudsman schemes. This is directly given in the Reserve Bank of India's notification. The RBI has released a notification for the annual report showing the highlights of the annual report. And this data was directly in the highlights. So this data you must remember, okay. The volume of complaints received under the Ombudsman schemes or the Consumer Education and Protection Cells, they have received during the year 2021-22 increased by 9.39% over the previous year. So there is 9.39% of the growth that has been seen in the complaints that is received under the schemes or by the Consumer Education and Protection Cells. So they have seen a 9.39% increase in the complaints and stood at 4.18 lakh during the reported period. Of these, this much 3 lakh complaints were handled by 22 offices of the RBI Ombudsman, including the complaints that is received under the 3 erstwhile ombudsman schemes till November 11, 2021. So you can understand that 3 lakh of the complaints were handled by the 22 offices of the Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman. Since the establishment of the CRPC under the Reserve Bank of Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, of the 1.49 lakh complaints handled at the CRPC and 1.43 lakh complaints had been disposed at the end of March 31, 2022. So how fast they are working, that this much has been received by the CRPC and this much has already been disposed of. So the CRPC, remember, it was launched in November 2021 only. So by March 2022, this much of the complaints has already been disposed of. Complaints relating to the digital modes of payment and transactions were the highest in number constituting 42.12% of the total complaints received during the year. So this also remember. Rate of disposal of complaints by the Reserve Bank of India Ombudsman improved to 97.97% in this financial year from 96.59% in the previous financial year 2020 to 21. Okay, so the rate of disposal of complaints has increased. So these are the percentages that you have to remember. Majority, that is 63.63% of the maintainable complaints were resolved through the mutual settlement, conciliation and mediation. So through the mediation and through the conciliation, through the mutual settlements, 63.63% of the maintainable complaints were already resolved, and this was the step that was taken for this. Now, what is the way forward during the period April 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023? CEPD will work towards the following action plans. So, in the coming years till March 2023, we can say that the CEPD is going to work to review the guidelines, because it is the CEPD that provides the guidelines, that provides the policy for the grievance redressal. So, it is going to review the guidelines on strengthening the grievance redressal framework for the banks, that is issued in January 2021. It is going to extend the RBIOS 2021. So it has already been extended to the non-scheduled urban cooperative banks that have the deposit size of 50 crore and greater. It has been, this scheme has been extended to the credit information companies. So now it is going to further be extended to the other banks, okay, other NBFCs. So internal ombudsman scheme will also be extended. It is currently, it was recently extended to the credit information companies, to more regulated entities. It will be extended to more regulated entities that are not covered presently. It is going to now, the CEPD is going to enhance the efficiency and ease of usage of the CMS, that is the complaint management system. Upgrade and expand the contact center. So there is the contact center that has been made, through which the compliance are being assisted. The customers are being assisted that have the complaints. So in 10 regional languages and Hindi and English. So you can understand that there is a need to upgrade and expand the contact center also. So this will be done by the CEPD by the March 31st, 2023. So this is the plan of the CEPD, that is the Consumer Education and Protection Department. So this is the first question that I hope you all can easily answer, very easy question. And this is the second question. So the data that has been given here, that is the most important data, because here directly RBI website has shown this data through the notifications. Okay. So this data you must remember. So do subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Telegram channel for the PDF of this session. And if you have any query, you can mail us here or you can contact us through this number. Thank you very much, everyone.